Hopefully you won't. So, but
Okay, there we go. Hey, and welcome to the delicious recipe here on UPRN. This one I called it Talk Soup. It's a Thursday, 7 p.m., and we have Jeffrey Pritchett that's going to be coming on there, or is with us right now, anyways. But just have to mention there quickly. If you're listening to us, you can check us out on YouTube. There's UFO Paranormal Radio. You have to do it twice. We're UFO Gods and Extraterrestrials. We're also on Facebook. You can check it out on my own Facebook there, Del Lessie, or you can check it out on the UPRN site, the Joe Montalvo site. You can check us out on Twitch, Twitter, and also on anywhere else that is listen to this stuff. They're just audio wise. We're on SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, anywhere podcasts are being played. That's where you can check us out. And that's for UPR on radio. And this is the delicious recipe. So I want to welcome Jeffrey Pritchett here to the show. He's another host there that's on this network as well. And know what? It's nowhere better for me to go and explain it than to have the person who is the real human being explain himself, because that's where we want the truth from. We want the truth. Just like the delicious recipe, we throw lots of things in the pot and we just see how it tastes at the end. So here is Jeffrey Pritchett. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm down here in Florida. Uh, been doing the show for 13 years. This is my first guest appearance on a show in like a long time, so it's different. I used to do them, but just things have been crazy, and I had to move and stuff, so got settled. But glad to be here, and yes, it's my first guest appearance in many moons. So doing it here on the delicious recipe. Been around 13 years. Church of Mavis. It's based basically, to make a long story short. In my earlier years, I came across the word from Nostradamus, Mavis, Mabus. I was going to make a heavy metal band called that. Luckily, I, you know, cleaned my act up. If I would have did that, I probably would have OD'd and died. So I didn't do that. And a death metal band named Mavis. Sure, that would have turned out great. But anyway, what happened is, well, when I was 17, I'm just going to go into why I made the show. When I was 17, I had testicular cancer, and I had to go through chemo, and basically woke up from exploratory surgery to be told we took one, and I cried. It was like, that's nice to know, 17, we're rocking 17. That's a great way to start 17. So I went through chemo, and I'm fine now, of course. And a year or so later, my father died.
No,
So
geez.
a lot of crap at one time. And somehow all that suffering opened up doorways, and I had a lot of weird paranormal experiences, from weird things in the sky to beings of light, seeing them with my physical eyes leave my house completely sober, uh, witnesses. And basically, I just started doing these little audio interviews in a chat room with someone named Jeremy Vaney, who's been around a while. We hate each other now. He's like my arch nemesis. Long
Oh,
story.
geez.
But nonetheless, we had people like Stanton Friedman come in there, who's a nuclear physicist. He's passed now, but a lot of legends from UFOs. And we would just type, and they would type back no audio, and people would be like, "Why don't you do a radio show?" Joe, even, he was there. That's where I met Joe. And they were like, "Why don't you do a podcast?" And I was like, "No, I don't really like to talk, so we'll just stick this way." And well, here we are 13 years later, and now I can't shut up, but sometimes I can. So, but basically saw a lot of weird stuff, and it led to the show just to find out what in the hell is all this weird stuff. So I started interviewing people about it to try to figure it out.
Mhm.
Still don't know what the hell's going on, but I know a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's a sort of the same sort of thing that I've been doing there. Actually, I started radio on UPRN. It's been about maybe 2 and a bit years there now, and it was just about I just wanted to go and find people out there that had questions. I question everything. That's the big thing that I always say on this show is do your own research, question everything, and just find out. Ask questions. Don't just follow the narrative, because the narrative is not there to help you at all. It's not. The government has a narrative. Like we were talking beforehand, before we started the show, about how cold it was down in Florida, and then we were talking about, hey, maybe the Chinese this is conspiracy theory, people. This is just it's not for truth or fact right now. It's just things. Maybe the Chinese turned on their HARP stuff and are pushing the jet stream there to make it cold to get the truckers out of Ottawa because they have a big, huge rally going on there to go against what this whole say with COVID jab mandate stuff, and just to go and say they're asking questions too. It's just a weird thing.
Definitely. That superstorm moving across the map right now is affecting Florida, though it's not really kind of it's near us a little bit, but not compared to like it takes over the whole United States and it's like aimed at Ottawa. So just looking at it on the map, it's like, what the hell? That's scary looking. And it's as far as there's conspiracies as weather warfare and all that stuff, I don't know. I mean, I think they have that stuff, but do I know if they're really doing that? I don't know. But I mean, it's possible, but I don't really know because I'm not in a little control center with all the little weirdos doing weather warfare if they exist. So I don't
Mhm.
really know. But anything's possible with that kind of stuff. But that storm is definitely concerning. I know Whitley Strieber wrote a book, The Global Coming Superstorm. There's a movie, The Day After Tomorrow, where all this weather crap happens. I
Mhm.
think Dennis Quaid's in it and stuff. It looks
Yeah.
like something like that, like a superstorm. It's kind of scary.
Well, there is proven documentation, and it's been even talked about, and you can go and look this stuff up online, and it's right there in the Dubai, uh, I guess, Welcome Center website, is that they control the weather there. They create rain once a week to keep things green in Dubai. So how do you figure that they're doing that if they're not controlling the weather there? So
Yeah.
if they're doing that for certain, we all know that HARP is actually a real thing, and we know that uh, people play and scientists play around with the atmosphere and stuff like that. We know cloud seeding is a real thing. So you have to wonder, could this be a possibility that this situation could be happening because of manipulation by somebody in the higher ups?
Yeah, and I definitely think there's something to energy weapons and all that stuff. I mean, I'm not someone to go on and on about that stuff, but lately, just some of the stuff I've seen and the way I've felt and stuff, it makes me wonder if they're like foreign enemy nations are like aiming all their satellite crap at us right now, doing stuff
Mm-hmm.
to us. Like, there's definitely something to it. I don't try to go too cuckoo about it, but I'm not ruling it out. That's for sure. They
Well,
have
that
crazy stuff.
yeah. Well, that's the thing, is that there are weapons there, and a lot of people that don't look into this stuff, and they think this is all just Hollywood makeup BS. But there is sound weapons, and they use them. There's police forces that use low frequency weapons that push out a brown noise that make them either puke or drop their drawers and empty themselves. Number two, but
Yeah.
also other things. There's parts of manipulation where they go and shoot. It's not shooting, but it's sending low frequencies or high frequency waves to areas and homes that can make people sick or make them think crazy thoughts or just sort of mess with their brains. And they've
Yeah.
also had theirs with, they found, and this is proven doctoral things that doctors said they're around people that live around high energy tension wires and stuff like that, that they do cause disease. So these things are not out of the realm of factors of could be a possibility. These are things that have, some of these things have been proven to be true.
Targeted individuals. And you made me think of a story. There's a guy named Christo Rupolo who's been on my show. He did a documentary, The Curse of the Man Who Sees UFOs. And in it, it starts off where he sees a UFO and he tells the story. And basically, he lost his bowels. And it was like and the UFO could have been our government. I'm not saying it was ET making people poop themselves, but it could have been our government doing,
Mm-hmm.
just what you said. And that's what happened to him. Like, that's
Mm-hmm.
what happened. One time, my fiance Christina, her hands get really messed up when she handles her phone a lot, like crazy, like splits in them and stuff. Like, she's very sensitive to that kind of stuff. But we also had a glass blow up in a house in front of
Oh
us,
wow.
and made me wonder: is this energy weapons? I've been paranoid from ghosts to energy weapons to whatever. But when you see something like that, like it was a crystal glass last year that just blew up. No one was near it. It wasn't hot then cold. No one was near it. It was just on the counter. It had fruit cocktail, and it blew up. And it was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Well, not the weirdest, but it was definitely, as far as it made you feel like you were in some crazy haunted house movie or something, but it could have been an energy weapon. And I've had proof myself that the government monitors people because they do shows like this and on
Hmm.
UFOs or whatever. I've
Yeah.
seen it with my own eyes. I was having UFO encounters in Georgia in my early 20s, mid 25, whatever. I get 1996. I always remember I went to a Marilyn Manson Antichrist Superstar tour that year, and now I know there's crazy stuff about him raping women and stuff. But back then I liked him. Now it's like God, I like the music, but I feel bad just listening to it after seeing some of the crazy stuff that they're accusing him of. Which I think there's something to it. That girl seems pretty smart, Rachel Evan Wood. But my point is that the energy weapon thing. I had some UFO sightings, and a silent craft appeared over my house that made no noise. And there was a man in it that waved mockingly. He was in a uniform. It looked like some Top Gun crap or something. And it made no noise. And it was during UFO sightings. And some kind of agency got sent out to see what
Hmm.
was going on. And for some reason, they stopped and mockingly waved. And then
Right.
another time that they've never approached me face to face or anything, thank God, that would have really freaked me out. But that was creepy enough. And I saw that with a friend. Another weird thing that happened that's evidence that they do monitor and watch us. One time I was going to shut my telephone off when I lived at Silver Lake, Florida, because of financial stuff, and it was a landline. And I was like, well, I'm going to shut my phone off and maybe get a cell or something cheaper. Well, suddenly $2,000 credit appeared on that phone
No
bill
way.
from nowhere, and I don't know. No one would have did that. If anybody did that to me, someone would have told me. So my phone's doing some Amber Alert.
Yeah, just hearing the little buzzing there right
I
now.
know. I know. I need to shut that off. It's like I hope it's not bad weather. But anyway, uh, sorry. Oh, someone abducted. Turn it. Oh, it won't shut off. That's like some Amber Alert that plays and it won't even let you turn your volume off on your phone.
Oh, geez,
So,
eh? Yeah.
but anyway, the credit appeared there. Nobody that I knew gave it to me. If they did, they would have told me. And I basically shut the phone off anyway. Paid some land tax. I got the phone company to send me that money in a check form, and they did. I paid some land taxes off and went on a shopping spree and shut the phone off anyway. But someone put that on my phone to try to keep it on so they could keep listening. And the only thing I was not doing anything illegal. So the only interesting thing I was doing was the radio show. So there's something to that for sure. And it creeps me out. I'll never forget it. That's for sure.
We have this thing there. Well, everywhere. It's not Apple TV. It's the other Fire Stick, and it's got the little remote here, and it has a little button at the top that is for. I can't remember what her name is there because Siri is for Apple. This one is. I can't remember what her name is.
Alexa.
Alexa, yeah, and you don't even have to touch the button anymore. She just listens to what's going on and what you're watching in that, and recommendations come up. It's like, okay, well, and I disabled it. I've disabled it several times, but she doesn't ever turn off. She's always there. She's
Nice.
always there on the ready.
There's some movie or show where the guy's like got an Alexa, and maybe it's a cartoon or something, and maybe I don't remember, but she appears and she's like a hologram, and he's arguing with her all the time. I swear I can't remember what it is. That'll come to me later, but for some reason I'm thinking of that, and then I think it's an actual movie. But then his friend gets one. Oh, I know what it is. It was a South Park episode. That's what it
Okay.
was.
You
One
know
of
what?
those COVID ones. One of the
You know what?
COVID ones.
South Park is like even people want to say this is like the Simpsons. They've been sort of. It's not that they've been predicting, but they've been seeing trends and they've been doing shows years before something happens. And it's the same thing with almost with Alex Jones. He tells you something, 6 months later it comes to fruition. The same thing with the Joe Rogan stuff. Talking to people and they're saying this is where it's headed, and then when it heads there, they go, but they they're like, oh, geez, we're in this predicament now. But they during the time when they mention it, everybody calls them conspiracy theorists, white supremacists, racists. They call them every name in the book. And it's funny is that I have these same conversations with my peer group and people on my social platforms and stuff like that. It says, "Do you understand where you're headed? Do you understand that you're slowly boiling the frog and you're letting it happen?"
Definitely, all that stuff is definitely crazy, and dropping off of the musicians dropping off, and I've been keeping up with it sort of, but not like really reading the articles, kind of skimming them. But it's definitely nuts for sure. Definitely, everything's just crazy. Like it just seems like we're on the end of, we're at the eve of destruction. I know I saw the doomsday clock has like 100 seconds till doomsday clock strikes
Yeah.
doomsday. Everything's just screwed right now.
Well, I remember back at 1999, before it came 2000, there was the big, huge computer scare because they only did three digits out of the four for the computers. They figured everything, all the banking and all that stuff would shut down, power grids and everything like that. Like my mom went out and bought a generator just to make sure that she had power if in case that went down. And everybody got all worried about that, and they did this whole computer fix that sort of helped out or whatever. But you just see how this mass propaganda, and it's not even propaganda, just mass thinking goes through that people get worried about stuff. And I think we should be worried right now because this Agenda 2030, they're trying to, main media is trying to sort of slough that stuff off, that it's not something, but almost the 17 points, almost all of them are being worked on individually and being moved forward. And I see it a lot more here in Canada because we have a dictator. We have Justin Castro, who is a friend to China and just loves that place there. But and that was the whole thing about this trucker rally. They're done with this sort of totalitarian, authoritarian way of thinking and doing stuff. And you guys have a big problem down in the States with No Go Joe.
Yep, things are just definitely insane on many levels in politics. I mean, the point of politics down here to me, it's hard to. I don't really support any of them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I really like Bernie, but I was kind of glad he didn't win and become president because I felt like he was really a good person. He was trying to help people that have cancer who don't have insurance and stuff like that, and
Right.
I can relate to that because I've been there. But once you get in the position of president, you're going to make decisions that tarnish your soul, murder decisions. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you get damned in there pretty quick. And, it's like it's showing enthusiasm for a politician with any government. To me, especially the American government, it's like being pro Jeffrey Dahmer at this point, or like, yay, Ted Bundy, I love you, yay.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's just hard. I see the irony in it all. So, but it's
Mm-hmm.
just nuts. Everything's just crazy for sure.
Well, like I've mentioned this many times, even with Laura and for her show, The Angel Rock, which is also on UPRN. I talked about this. It says when you get into politics, when you're like small town, you're more looking about your small town, and all part about getting into politics is how is it gonna benefit you. But you're looking about your community and stuff like that. You move up a little bit bigger to a province or to a state, you're looking about fixing that, but you're also looking about benefiting you. When you get to the presidential or prime minister stuff, you're looking more about your family and you first, besides the whole small part of it. You forgot about all those little sectors that were there beforehand. And it's sort of a really sad thing to see. And especially when you have, like, I don't want to harp on this anyways. Let's bring back the word harp again.
I know it's like
Uh,
hard time.
but it's just when you get into things like that, like I think with the whole part there is with politics and stuff like that. If you're any part of power that you're in stuff like that, you should not be able to go and invest and make money in companies that you are making laws and decisions on. And that's a big thing there. That I remember the whole part there with Nancy Pelosi and her husband. Well, no, my husband made the money, not me. And there's the lie in the truth. Right?
Yeah, It's definitely crazy. It's just people getting richer while the poor get poorer situations, and it's just corruption. It's just absolute corruption,
Mhm.
and that's why I just kind of like don't even care anymore. Uh, it's just hard.
So another thing that I've been doing on my channel that is for the last sort of 2 years there, I've been going into and looking into history and looking into lore of things that have been written about, even in like in religious texts and all over the place there. And I know your show does this a lot. We're talking about extraterrestrials that have sort of shown up. But the one I've been sort of really interested in is this topic of the little people. And when I asked my neighbor, and she's a Native American, lives just north of Thunder Bay, or did now moved away. But I asked her, says, "Oh, it says, does your tribe have anything about Bigfoot or like the hairy man or stuff like that?" She says, "No, we have a problem with the little people." And then I started getting reading. I watched like weeks and weeks and amounts of footage about this topic, and it wasn't really that as bigly noted about. And I've had other guests on here too and talked about this. And this is like a European lore too, as well, of these little people. And I know your show talks about the strange and the weird, just like mine, the paranormal and that. And I delve into all these things there, and I'm sort of really fascinated about this. How this sort of people sort of dismiss it as that it's all you're just crazy people smoking too much dope and just thinking about weird stuff. Pink Floyd The Wall, and but I think there is some sort of semblance of truth out there because there's too many hunters that have gone out there and they can't all be lying.
Well, there's definitely something out there. I've interviewed enough people about the subject that there's no doubt in my mind there's something out there. I have a book called Praise for the Hairy Man, The Secret Life of Bigfoot, and I wrote it with Andrew Colvin, the Mothman photographer, but it's all these transcripts of people who've been on the show who have interviewed about Bigfoot. And there's legends in there, and it ranges from people who think it's just a physical, undiscovered monkey in the woods who are out there trying to get evidence, to people that think it's like an alien moving through stargates. So there's just so many different theories on it. But I definitely think there are tribes of those things out there, and I've just heard too much, and too many stories of people who I trust, like Carter Bouchard, who was just on my show. I'll have to send you that one. He's a great
Okay,
interview
for sure.
from BFRO, the guys that did Finding Bigfoot, but he gets into the weirder stuff like UFOs and Bigfoot. If you put a map up of UFO sightings of them in America, or and the Bigfoot sightings over each other
Yeah.
and missing people, they all look similar. Like it's creepy. It'll creep you out. But I haven't seen a Bigfoot. I thought I did when I was a kid, around 8, when I was hanging out with this kid, but he may have been messing with my head. The cops came out and they said it was spider monkeys or something. But it's just one of those situations where I was young, and I don't know what the hell happened. But I would like to see a Bigfoot, and I wish they would quit appearing to people that want to shoot them in the face, which
Yeah.
they never do anyways. But my
They
point
need
is,
a Harry and the Hendersons sort of Bigfoot to show up.
exactly, a nice one. But
Yeah.
I have seen little people. I have a
Okay.
little people encounter story, and I don't know if these were what natives would consider little people, but they were little, and
This
they
is
were
my
weird.
buddy. Hey, you.
What's that from? It's a robot.
No, this is Laura Lee makes these.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this
Oh,
is
I
it.
see. I see. I see it. It's
Yeah,
just small.
this is my buddy. Hey, you. He's the co-host of my show.
Oh, okay. I see the mustache and stuff. It took
Yeah,
me
he looks like a
my
ZZ
eyes.
Top guy there.
Yeah, my eyes had to adjust. And but the thing, it looks cool, definitely. The thing that I saw, I was in the woods with a friend of mine, Brian, and we saw three small cloaked beings standing in the woods. They kind of looked like Jawas, but not fat like Jawas. They were
Yeah.
skinny and you couldn't see their faces. And the weirdest part about it, there was a little black box on the ground and they were standing around it. And I was like, "Do you see that?" He's like, "Yeah, man, I see that. Do you see that?" Because we were like, "Are we, hallucinating? What is that?" And a cat came out, a black cat named Manson. He jumped towards them and they vanished. Later, I found that black cat dead, but I think a car may have got him. I'd like to not think they did it. But those little things, I'll never forget them ever. And later, I'd seen those Phantasm movies. That's what they reminded me of. But these were
Oh,
skinny.
like with the Pinhead and all that, the
Well,
Hellraiser stuff,
well,
or no,
that's
Phantasm. Sorry, no,
yeah.
I'm thinking something different. Sorry.
There's some
Yeah,
similarities, but yeah,
yeah.
there Phantasms with the ball and the old man and the
Oh,
morgue
yeah.
and
Okay.
the
Yeah,
little
yeah.
dwarfs running around
Hmm.
everywhere. But
Yeah.
that's what they reminded me of. But they were skinny, but I don't know what they were. And I had been reading books about the Celtic otherworld and Druids and weird stuff, so I don't know if I brought it on to me by reading stuff. That can
Hmm.
happen. But I saw them and I'll never forget it. I know later, I know a lot of people talk crap about Stephen Greer. I don't really, I'm not going to say anything good or bad. I just don't have the strength. But I know he
Yeah.
introduced some weird little small aliens at some point, and it may have been fake. I don't
I seen the videos
Yeah,
there where he
yeah.
photographed stuff, and yeah, they look like
Little
Jawas in
And I've wondered if
yeah.
under those cloaks, if that's what the hell those things were. I don't know. It's just speculation, but was what was under the cloaks? Those little small things. It's possible. I still don't know to this day, but I know
Uh-huh.
what I saw, and it wasn't normal, whatever it
Yeah.
was. It was little people. It could be considered little people for sure.
Well, that's the weird thing, or not the weird thing, or it's the strange thing is that through every single culture, and I've looked this up because I'm fascinated by this. Doesn't matter. Every continent, every culture has some sort of thing about these little people that are around, and they all talk about. Some of them are nefarious, some of them are good, some of them are whatever. There's different, and I guess you could say they're like different tribes or different cultures of little people that are around there, but they're around.
Yeah,
Like it
sure
just.
enough.
Sorry, I missed that.
Oh, I was just saying, sure enough. And there's a book by Kathy Moskowitz Strain, and it's all these native folklore she gathered of giants and stuff like that,
Oh
and
yeah,
all that stuff. I mean, they talk about these things. I mean,
I was talking a couple of weeks ago with Augie Nost. I had him on the show there about the culture of giants and how the Smithsonian has sort of scooped up everything to hide that history of these large bones and large people through everywhere. And I asked him, said, who is the Smithsonian? And like, who are they? Who is the person? And he didn't really say anything about that. So I was sort of left in a questioning part about there can't. It almost reminds me like the CIA. Like they have a person that's a figurehead of the director of the CIA, but who is actually really running stuff?
yeah, I've had him on. He's a great guest for sure. Very, very fascinating for sure. He's been on my show, and it was a good one for sure. It definitely blow your mind, no doubt about it.
Yeah,
He's definitely a trip. For sure. I need to get him back on. He was a good guest for sure, definitely. But the Bigfoot thing, Nephilim, giants, are they the same thing? There's giants in the Bible, or those
right.
Bigfoot.
Yeah.
The Esau in the Bible was like some hairy dude,
Well,
and Jacob.
Gilgamesh in the Sumerian text there's a whole story about him and Enkidu, giants bigger than regular people, and then traveled through the underground to go down there when Gilgamesh tried to bring Enkidu back to life. And these are all written stories about these huge people and dealing with uh, Solomon with the Ring of Solomon and commanding demons to go and build huge structures. Like these are written in texts that are out there.
There's definitely some truth to it, and definitely. I mean, if you look at every culture and myth, there's giants. Look at Norse.
Yeah.
I love Norse stuff. Look at Greek. Look at native folklore. Look at
Mm-hmm.
the Christian. There's all these things in there. These beings are there, and
Mm-hmm.
the dwarfs in Norse, the little people in the natives. It's there. There's a reason. These
Yeah.
things are here with us, and I think they've always been here. and I'm surprised they haven't risen up and eaten us and gotten rid of us because we're so disgusting. Maybe that's the plan at the end of time or whatever, Ragnarok.
Yeah.
But but it's just fascinating for sure.
Well, like you gotta like I talked with this. I had Varla Ventura on there before, and she's written a bunch of books there too
Great
about
one, great,
little
great,
people and
great lady.
folklore.
Yeah,
Yeah,
great.
oh, awesome. I love her. And the thing is, was that there was some stories that were done, and it was to scare little kids so they wouldn't go out at night and get eaten by wolves or bears and stuff like that. You can understand that, but then the other part of the whole part of the story that goes out there about these things messing with people for the rest of the 23 hours of the day, and people were actually really worried about this and had written down occurrences of these things, and then they drew pictures on stones about something that was different than what they were. Can't think that people were all idiots and didn't have any knowledge on how to draw that from then and there, right? There's that this part about history. This is, I guess, the part that I keep on having this problem that I keep on banging my head against, is that somebody back then 2000 years ago is no different than them. They thought the same sort of way. In a way, they could do similar things. They didn't have the technology, but they could do things and make things. They can make fire. They could make a make a tire, or a wheel. They could cut down a tree, and they could draw just the same way as that any idiot today can draw.
Yep. And that's a big one that I've seen are beings of light. And I've seen those many times with my naked eye, completely sober. And for a while, I thought I was dying. Like, I was like, why am I seeing this stuff? I saw two leave my house. It was like they were in my house and flew through the roof into the heavens, two glowing people of light. And I've seen them in the heavens. I've peered into space late at night, and I've seen them like in the heavens. I think there's like a quantum realm around the earth that we go to when we die. And I think maybe there's so many theories what these light beings are, from extraterrestrial to our own
Mhm.
energy bodies. But I've glimpsed into that realm and seen them standing almost, it looked like a big Sims game. And I think, the Great Spirit or whatever showed it to me to alleviate fears or maybe to get the word out about it. But I've seen them so many times that that's one of my big experiences are these beings of light. I've seen some stuff. There's some guy named Robert Stanley. I haven't had him on the show. I'd like to, but something about or this other guy Johnny Enoch said something about the shining ones came to earth and then they had to go underground. Like, if you look up stuff about the shining ones and the ET and UFO stuff, it gets pretty interesting. I
Oh
had
yeah.
a shaman on, Don Oscar, and he said that down in South America, Peru or whatever, they go down there and watch the shining ones in the sky and have like celebrations and watch these beings like in the sky. And
Hmm.
maybe they're doing ayahuasca. I don't know, but that doesn't lessen it for me any. That opens doorways so you can see into the realms more.
Hmm.
But it's better when you can do it just naturally sober.
Right.
But I mean, here was a shaman saying, we see these things too, Jeffrey, and we're down here celebrating it. These are the shining ones, the luminous ones that you hear about in shamanism. And for some reason, I've seen them many times. And I think maybe it's what we are. I don't know. There's just so many different things I've heard. I don't really know, but
Lots of questions, I guess. I should say here, just to make sure, Michelle Millions. Hey, thank you from Facebook there for popping in. Appreciate you there watching the show. And I forgot to say YouTube, UFO Paranormal, UFO Gods and Extraterrestrials. Go there. But yes, no, this was another part that I had. I written this down because I thought about this. Is that I wrote this down beforehand because I thought that was going to go here. Anyways, as the population of the Earth, we occupy the top surface of the planet. Archaeologists are still finding buried cultures or ones that are underneath, even in the water and stuff like that. Times and times history may be different. It's a big world, lots to see, and yet and more things yet to discover. And you got to figure that as a population, we like if you have your house, we only dig down about 10 feet, but the crust is like 100 miles thick, and you don't know that's underneath there. They found places out in Turkey and in Europe and stuff like that, civilizations that have built down in the ground, and huge areas and stuff like that. You gotta even wonder about the whole Egypt thing. I think that's with the pyramids. I think that's been widely misinterpreted. That's crazy. Like that's then you look at the places in India, a huge temple carved out of one piece of rock with no flaws in it, no joints or melding and stuff like that. You look at the stuff that's in South America, huge stones as well moved in that. And then you have all these stories of huge people, giants, and small people. And then you have people that used magic or something else or other technology.
The hollow earth, all those theories and about Antarctica and all that craziness, which is probably not craziness, there's something to it, but I think there's, that's where they live. And a lot of these Bigfoots supposedly live in the cavern systems. That's why they're so hard to find and everything.
Mm-hmm.
One
Well,
of
if
my,
you
yeah,
if you look at just even at Canada, most of Canada's population occupies about the first 150 miles of the border, and then we go way up there. There's so much more bush and stuff like that. Like you could go forever and probably not see anybody for days and days and days and days. And so, if you're a hunter and stuff like that, going out and searching for a moose could take you a week, and you got to figure out how elusive something else that might have some intelligence could be.
definitely. And so many other cryptids too that are fascinating. Mothman, reptilians. There's so many.
Dogman.
Yep, I've heard crazy stuff about Dogman. There's those documentaries, Small Town Monsters, or they go to these different towns in the U.S. that have monster sightings where crazy stuff have happened, like crazy town residents have gone nuts, and lynch mobs, and the military and police come out. Now they have a parade, the Mothman parade, or the
Mhm.
Lizard Man, whatever. Or there's different ones, but if you look at the site, Small Town Monsters, they've been on the show before, but
Okay.
basically they do documentaries about all these towns that have had a creature sighting in it, and the towns have turned it into tourism now. So that's pretty interesting though. But the people have encounters and stuff there. So who's to say? Some of them may be BS. Some of them may be true. I don't know. There's different ones, but I forget them all. But I have some of the DVDs where they're fun to
Uh,
watch. But
Did
go
you
in.
ever watch the show American Gods?
Yes, I sure did. I read the book. I started the show and watched the first season, maybe the second season, but I know they canceled it or something, so I was just like, screw this. But I've read the book and everything. I'd recommend the book highly
Yeah.
for sure.
And there's a place, and I know that the mystery spot that's in Illinois, I think it is, or is it Michigan?
Tennessee, where they met and stuff, or
No,
something.
the mystery house. That's the
Oh, okay, okay.
but there's an actual space or a spot. You can anybody can check this up on the internet and that where uh, part of it is a little bit weird that they sort of fake things where the optical illusions, but the energy and the magnetism around the whole entire site is different than 100 feet away from there. And this happens with a lot of places that are around the world where you have energy fluctuations because the world is a magnet, right? We have the earth is a magnet, but you have these different little points where something works a little bit different than anywhere else.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I think going on with the Earth's magnetic field, and I know there was a tribe of natives. I forget which one, but they told the government a warning to the government down here or something. I've seen articles about it that the Earth is changing on the axis and crazy stuff. The fields, the magnetic fields. I definitely believe a lot of that right now is going wonkers
Yeah,
for
flipping.
sure. The Ute or something. I forget who they are, but which one. And then, of course, these fascinating things of planets sending pulses to other planets. And then recently they found some things sending a pulse every 18 seconds in space, which I don't know if it's aliens or what it is, but it's still weird as hell. you know.
Well, that's the part, is that you never ever know unless you research stuff yourself and go out and look for it. There is that government, especially the U.S. government, sends out contracts to private contractors to go and do the stuff that they don't have to give FOIA reports to, right? Because if you ask for a report from the government, they have to go and give you everything. But if they go and send it to a private contractor and they go and do their experiments at a university or in a private business and stuff like that, that information doesn't have to come back, right? They have it there, but they don't have to divulge it. And that's, people are going to experiment with anything. It's like the whole part there with do you think that the companies or medical companies have an experiment with mixing human DNA with animal human DNA? Of course they have. Even though it doesn't matter what the world what, not the World Economic, what's that stupid place called there, where they all 183 countries all together. It just totally just
United Nations or
the United Nations. The United Nations says you're not allowed to do that and stuff like that. But you don't think that private companies and other people are doing that anyways? They just can't make it sound that it's outright that they're propagated, bought for news is not going to report on it. But this has to be happening. People are curious, and that's the thing, right? So, could something escape? Yes, just like something escaped back at the beginning of 2020. Full circle.
that the Montauk monster or something like that. No,
So that was another one there too. No, I was talking about the thing that you need a jab for, though, but something escaped from a
oh
lab.
yeah, the bat creature.
Yes,
Yeah,
that got wet in the market and uh, destroyed the whole economy and dropped all the small businesses off the map. No, but
crazy.
you gotta think that people are curious and companies are curious and governments are curious and military is more curious than anybody else to create something that is going to best them to be the most protected, right? And I think there was a quote there, something like that, that the first country that perfects AI and I guess would you would say like a robot or a symbiotic or a melding or something like that will be the country that rules the world.
Definitely. I mean, I've seen videos of stuff that Russia has, and they look like they have like Terminators or something, like crazy
Oh, that
robot
Boston
people.
Dynamics,
Yeah, they have something. I saw a video Russia like these crazy, look like Terminators. That'll
right?
be the first thing they'll be sending after us, or the Terminators for sure. But it's definitely the military and stuff. A lot of these UFO and Bigfoot sightings happen around military bases. You got Robert Salas. If you ever get a chance to have
Yeah.
him on, he's the one that had the UFOs that shut down the missile silos, and he put books out
Okay.
about this stuff. And I mean, he's still enlisted, so
Mhm.
these things seem to be around our government. Another big one, and Joe knows this guy, John Vasquez, Fort
Okay.
Bennett, a big UFO case that happened in Fort Benning, Georgia, by John Vasquez, who's passed away now. There was a big, crazy UFO situation and a being sighting, and all the troops freaking out and calling for their moms and weird stuff.
Well,
There was all kinds of weird stuff.
Joe said we only got about a minute or two left here. Joe said on this one show there is that while he was working in the military on the carrier, they had the aircraft carrier in the Pacific, I believe it was, and they had a ship land on the deck of the aircraft carrier. And he says that because of the his date or whatever NDA had expired, he was able to talk about it. And he said it came in there, the ship shut down the whole system on the power system of the ship, and it just coasted. People got on, people got off, and then took off, and then took off.
Wow.
So that's the owner of this station there on UPRN, and was in the military, and it's sort of interesting. There's been many thousand people that have seen weird things in this planet or around this planet, and they all can't be connected and perpetrating the same lie.
Definitely going on. And if you look at one of my favorite things to do is go to YouTube and type in Fox News UFOs or CNN UFOs, like any major media, and watch them freak out about UFOs. It's a lot of
Yeah.
fun, especially Fox News. It's always fun to watch them freak out about UFOs.
Well, anyways, Jeffrey, it's been super great to have you on here. It says just tell them where they can find your show here and what times there are, and then we'll let Red Pill News there pull in right after us.
All right, you can go to churchofmabusradio.com. That's churchofmabus radio.com. And I'm on the network on the paranormalradionetwork.org on the SoundCloud. And we're Friday nights at 7 p.m. Central to 9 p.m. Central. And big guest coming up, Joe R. Lansdale in March, big time writer and inventor of Weird West, like weird Western stuff, throwing a zombie or a vampire or werewolf in the Wild West. But that's one of my big guests coming up. Looking forward to that. But it's been great being here. It's been good to be a guest on the show. It's something I haven't done in a while, so it was good. It's good to turn the tables.
Appreciate you being on here. It's YouTube that we're on here, UFO Paranormal. I got to go in my 3 and UFO gods and extraterrestrials just to make the powers that be happy. And you can remember we're Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern time here on UPRN and all the other places at the beginning that I told you all about. And this was the delicious recipe. And thank you all for tuning in.